I hope you got your shitting pants on.
'Cause you are about to shit your pants.
All right, everybody, welcome to The Big Picture. I am Michael Sargent, and you're listening to this program on All Western New York News and Radio. Look, I got a lot of stuff to get into today, so we're going to get right into it, okay? First thing that I definitely want to talk about to you today is some of the things that we're doing on this program. I like to use a lot of drops, just because they're fun. And let me tell you something, brother.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
I'm pretty excited about some of the work here that, I'm doing with the drops and stuff on the show. Some of them are pretty funny. And, we're just going to keep rolling with this because we're starting to get there. Let's get right into this. I wanted to talk to you. I don't know how many of you ever seen the movie Full Metal Jacket. Growing up, it was one of my favorite movies. I shouldn't say growing up. I mean, it came out when I was a young adult. And what was great was the drill sergeant, in that movie, that played, Sergeant Hartman. He was a drill sergeant. Well, he passed away, and I got to tell you, I mean, he was quite popular. Well, I think he was quite popular among servicemen and Hollywood, but Arlie Emery, he was born on March 24th, 1944 in Emporia, Kansas. He died April 15th, 2018. In Santa Monica, California. Sad, but he was a guy that, I really enjoyed, watching him. In Full Metal Jacket, he was great. So, Gunny.
1, 2, 3, 4,
You were an inspiration to me, and I had a lot of fun. I know back in the day when Full Metal Jacket was released, it was kind of disclosed that that's how things were during that era. You guys were hardcore and trained hardcore, and I think it kind of ties in with people nowadays. It's like, wow, what a difference between the days, during that time area and now. We really have failed, as a society.
But I have failed!
And I keep trying to bring it out and, enlighten as many people as I can. But, well, all right. So you guys are going to get punished this week as you listen to The Big Picture, because it's kind of, it's going to be all over the place.
I will punish all of you!
That's exactly what I'm saying. And when I say you, I mean you people.
You people!
That's right. So right now, like, I'm in a great place, and I'm thinking, just like Arlie Emery, I pretty much can say and do whatever I want. And, there's so many people out there that I just look at as the private piles of the world.
Private pile!
And I'll tell you, there's something that I really hate.
If there is one thing in this world that I hate,
they're jelly donuts.
jelly donuts!
I'm not a big fan of jelly donuts. So, while we're rolling along here, I look at the show and I say, okay, what is this show?
What is that?
Well, I'm trying to figure it out, and I've been trying to figure it out for a while, what we want to do. And, it's the politics thing. It always drives me right up the wall. And every week I see something new, and I just think to myself, what the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?
It's crazy. So, I wonder what it's going to take to wake up people with everything that's going on in this world. And I think, in tradition with Arlie Emery, he was one motivated guy. And to watch all the things that he did in his life, it kind of makes me think, where is our motivation in today's society? So, are we being motivated, or are we getting the proper motivation?
You people have not given the proper motivation!
So, I think, that all I can do every week is just look at things and think to myself, Jesus, you got to be kidding me.
Jesus H. Christ.
So, what's maddening is I see all these dickheads.
If it wasn't for dickheads like you!
Yeah, dickheads like, people out here. They kind of drive me crazy. So, something I want to talk about a little bit this week is toe jam.
Toe jam.
And toes in general. I got looking at my toes this morning, and I'm all over the place here, but I'm thinking, boy, I have been going so hard that I have neglected to take care of my toes. And oh my God, disgusting, toenails. They're terrible.
Trim 'em.
So I did exactly that. I trimmed them up, and I'm feeling pretty good about things right now. So, I need to take a little break, I think, because, I want to get really rolling in this show. Plus, while I take that little break, I'm going to go get myself, I think maybe I'll go grab a sandwich or something like that, you gotta get something.
They're paying for it, you eat it!
Yeah, they're paying for it, you eat it. Okay, so I'm going to take this little break here and grab myself a little something, and we're going to get back into photography topic this week that we said that we would bring up, kind of break it down for people a little bit, okay? But right now, I'm hungry.
Because you were hungry.
Yeah, I'm going to take a break. Thanks. Nightmares back. Okay, so little break here. Let's cover the topic on photography this week, okay? And it's kind of an extension of what we talked about last week. All right. A lot of people were kind of asking about ISO, right? And ISO, it's really pretty simple if you look at it, with an uncomplicated mind, I guess is the best way that I can, describe this to you, because it's ISO is very, it has a lot to do with, image sensitivity, the sensor in your camera's sensitivity. And if you don't understand ISO, it can really give you the blues, and it can really take a really good scene and make a really crappy photo, okay?
Mom say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
And what'll end up happening is you're gonna be in a location, you're gonna take a picture, and it's not gonna come out that great. It'll be grainy and not look that great. and you will get kind of bummed out about it. It's just how it happens. Yeah, it's not a good thing. So let me break this right down to you. So, the ISO is one of the three pillars of photography that can dramatically affect the look of your images. Okay. The other two being shutter speed and aperture, which we did kind of talk about that last week. So, like those two settings, ISO controls the brightness of your photos and is a crucial setting to use properly if you want to take the best possible images. So, here is, let's answer the question, what is ISO? So, in very basic terms, ISO is simply a camera setting that will brighten or darken a photo. As you increase your ISO number, your photos will grow progressively brighter. For that reason, ISO is a good tool to help you capture images in dark environments. Or it also allows you to be more flexible about your aperture and shutter speed settings. However, you knew this was coming. Raising your ISO has consequences. A photo taken at too high of an ISO will show a lot of grain, and it's also known as noise. So let's not confuse the two, okay? If you have too much noise in a photograph, the photo can become unusable. So brightening a photo via ISO is always a trade-off. You should only raise your ISO when you're able to brighten your photos via the shutter speed or aperture instead. Or, for example, if you're using a long shutter speed, that could cause your subject to be blurry. So let me give you some common ISO settings. Like modern cameras have ISO settings now of what they call low or 50 ISO, but traditionally ISOs are 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and back in the day, 6400 was high. So if you double your ISO speed, you are doubling the brightness of the photo. So a photo at ISO 400 will be twice brighter than ISO 200, which will be twice brighter than ISO 100. Base ISO is really the lowest native ISO on your camera. It's an important setting because it gives you the potential to produce the highest image quality, minimizing the visibility of noise as much as possible. Now, some older cameras, some of the older cameras, they start out with a base of ISO 100, but some of the newer ones, really newer ones, like let's just say the Canon 5D Mark III, they have the ISO setting of 50. So optimally, you should always try to stick to the base ISO to get the highest image quality. However, it's not always possible to do so, especially when you're working in low light conditions. So, best way to test this is go take two photographs. One, say at ISO 200, and then the same photograph at ISO 3200. The difference will become clear. The image at ISO 3200 has a lot of noise in it, where, the one at 200, if you're looking very closely at the images, blowing them up, you'll see that there's more noise. So, changing the ISO varies from camera to camera, and some camera companies do better jobs at minimizing ISO noise, and there's even filters that are installed in some of them that generally eliminate some of the noise. You can't get rid of it all. So, I guess the question, will come into play, when you should use low ISO. So, you should always try to stick to the lowest ISO, or base ISO of your camera, which is typically ISO 100 or 200. not to rule out that there are cameras that go down to 50. You want to do this whenever you can. If there's plenty of light, you're free to use a low ISO and minimize the appearance of noise as much as possible. Even in dim or dark environments, you still may be able to use low ISO. For example, if you have a camera mounted on your tripod or sitting completely still on a table, all right, in that case, you can safely use a low ISO and brighten your photo via a long shutter speed instead. Since you won't introduce camera shake, you got to keep in mind that if your camera does use a long shutter speed, anything that is moving will look like a ghost in your photograph. Now that's, some trick photography there. So when you want to use high ISOs, even though it's ideal to use low ISOs, there's plenty of times when a high ISO is necessary in order to take a good photograph in the first place. The simple reason that you are often fighting against motion blur, and you'll need to pick between a sharp photo at a high ISO or a blurry photo at a low ISO, you want to have some sample images, okay? Minimizing noise and maximizing image quality. There are some photographers think that the best way to capture high quality images is to use a base ISO of 100 all of the time. However, if you look at demonstrations or examples, it's just simply not true. Sometimes you'll be in a dark environment where you have no choice but to use a higher ISO. And you should only use the base ISO when there's enough light to do so. Don't try to force ISO 100 in a dark environment, or your photos will come out way too dark. Simply, if you're using a fast shutter speed to capture action, it's essentially the same as taking a picture in a dark environment, since you strictly limit the amount of time your camera sensor is able to capture light. So for certain types of sports and action photography, a high ISO might be your only option. Okay? To maximize your image quality, here are 4 steps you need to follow. Select the aperture setting that will provide your desired depth of field. Now, we may have to talk about depth of field in the next episode, but you are also going to set your ISO to its base value and put your shutter speed to whatever setting provides a proper exposure. If your subject is blurry, progressively raise your ISO and use a faster shutter speed until motion blur disappears, unless you're going for that look. The 4th tip that you can do here, if your ISO is getting too high and you still have the ability to use a wider aperture, open it up until the next, open it right up until the ISO gets to more of a manageable level, even if it means sacrificing some of your desired depth of field. That's all it takes. If you follow those simple steps, you'll capture the maximum image quality each time. You'll find the ideal balance between noise, motion, blur, and depth of field. All right? So, some of the myths, and I want to be clear of this, is ISO sensor sensitivity. It's a very common myth related to ISO. It is something you will see all over the web. However, although it may help you to think of ISO as acting like camera sensor sensitivity, that's not what it actually does. Instead, digital sensors have, they only have a single sensitivity regardless of your ISO. It is more accurate to say that ISO is like a mapping to tell your camera how bright the output photo should be, giving a particular input exposure. ISO is not a part of exposure either. Shutter speeds and apertures brighten your photo by physically capturing light. ISO doesn't do that. Instead, it essentially brightens the photo you already captured, so photographers don't consider it to be a component of exposure. All right? So, here's kind of a clever question. Is raising ISO just like brightening your photo on a computer? This is a clever question, but again, it is simply a misconception. Brightening a photo on your computer can act in many ways like raising your ISO. Since it does not make noise more visible and it leads to a brighter image, the simple difference is that raising your ISO on the camera nearly always provides better image quality than brightening a photo on your computer. In other words, it is better to use ISO 800 when necessary rather than brightening an ISO 100 photo to a huge degree in post-processing software like Adobe's Lightroom. Okay? I hope everybody kind of understands that, because that's about as clear as I can lay that out to you. All right? So, I guess what I'm looking at here, all these questions, come into play here, with cameras and things like that. And, every week I get bombed with another question, and that seems to be the trend because photo season's starting to heat up and people are asking questions. So, I get out and about now, and the other day I had this person walk up to me, and it was amazing that she basically came up and had this really nice Nikon camera, and she was having all sorts of trouble with it, and I offered some assistance. So I take the camera and look at the settings, and I'm like, well, here's the thing, your pictures aren't coming out great because you've got this set to auto ISO. And you're trying to shoot it at like 2,000ths of a second. You can slow that shutter down and then dramatically reduce that ISO, and it'll take a picture. So I showed her real quick, and she looked at it and said, "Oh, wow, okay," and she walked away. No thank you or no nothing. And I just thought to myself,
Bitch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So, it was kind of maddening to me that you offer the help and then you don't even get a thank you. Things like that, they just drive me crazy.
That guy's driving me crazy.
So you know what, honey, listen, I'm glad I could help. I hope things work out for you, but you're a jackass.
Jackass!
So I'm kind of I'm kind of like, wow, this is weird. So what do you do? What do you do? Oh, Scott, you had asked me about, I had said something, you tweeted out to me about Colonel Sanders. Well, here's your drop.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong. Mama's right.
Mama's right, okay? My mama tells me, that this political stuff, this liberal stuff, she says, no, you people are wrong. You have no idea. She's been around forever, and she's quite wise. And all right, your response is going to be, okay, well, your mama's wrong, Mike.
Well, folks, mama's wrong again.
So, really, you should probably talk to my mother. My mother's pretty smart about things, and she's been around for a long time. So, it's up to you. You can go listen to what my mama has to say.
All right, let's hear what mama has to say on the subject.
Yeah, you should. You should listen to what Mama has to say. Moms are pretty smart. But then again, I don't expect anybody to get it because people's brains aren't wired right.
Something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
Yeah, it kind of is. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the topic on Photography Week because it was my pleasure to actually talk to you about ISO.
Always a pleasure.
It is. It really is. It's a lot of fun. So, one of the other things that happened this week, somebody walked up to me and I was, right in the middle of doing, a quick job. Well, not really a quick job. It took me half the day. But I've been working on my Wrangler, getting it equipped and trying to set it up. And all of a sudden, I got, neighbors, that are just, they're driving me nuts. I mean, they really do. They drive me nuts.
That guy's driving me crazy.
And here you are working on things, and I just kind of like, God, would you guys just leave me alone? I'm busy here, and they don't, I don't think they understand that. So once again, I'm thinking, you people, you drive me crazy. This is making me nuts.
Bitch.
So, I finally got ticked off and after listening to Mike, I turned and looked at him and said, you people really need to be quiet and leave me alone.
Don't you know me, boy?
Yeah, because I was quite irritated about it. And, there wasn't going to be any magic rays of sunshine, during this time period while I was so focused on doing what I was doing.
Mama say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
Well, you know what?
Well, folks, Mama's wrong again.
Yeah, Mama was wrong that time. So, anyway, I'm really pretty happy about bringing this stuff to you, and I got to stop here for a second and check my time, and, really appreciate everybody listening to the program. Once again, this is The Big Picture, and I am Mike Sargent, and you're listening on All Western New York News and Radio. Cool. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Listen, so we're at about 25 minutes for the show, and I think that what I'm going to do is kind of close it out. I've got a new closing that I'm going to start using for this show. Like the opening of the show. I like to call it the shitting garden. And, it was just something I put together and, played with. I thought it was kind of pretty cool. So let me play you our new closeout for The Big Picture. And with about 26 minutes ago, I don't think I'm screwing you too bad on time. So here you go. This is the Big Picture closeout. I am Mike Sargent. Thanks for listening to The Big Picture. See ya.
Like the track of the whip, I snap attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Nigga like a shovel, rhyme double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind, day and night, all the time. 714, wise, divine, maniac, brainiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James. Quality, I possess, some say I'm fresh, when my voice goes through the mesh of the microphone that I am holding. Copywritten lyrics so they can't be stolen if they are not. Don't need the police to try to save them, your voice will sing. So please, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that.